Listen, if you think you want to be a successful musician, you probably don't. It's such a good thing not to be successful. It's such a good thing to just make something. And I don't care if you're working a different job, you know? Dude, you just do whatever you have to do, okay? Make awesome stuff. That's great. But man, being like a popular musician is not good. Are you looking at? Who would anybody look at as a you know a pop musician or a successful musician that is someone that you would want to be like? Oh my gosh, Gary Glitter was in Jesus Christ Superstar. He had two kids, right? He had a son, and then he was like, I'm gonna check out. He was in all these bands, right, in the UK, and the UK guys were incredibly bad about what I'm about to express. He had a son. He was married. He had a son and a daughter. And he was like, "Oh no, I still want to be a musician, so I'm gonna see what I can do to make some money." And then that's when he was in Jesus Christ Superstar. And that's when he moved on, and got involved in some, bigger and better projects. And his, sort of success continued to rise. And then he releases a song called Rock and Roll. You hear it all the time, modern day. And at the time that he releases the song, the same year, he divorces his wife and rapes his first girl, attempts to rape the first girl under the age of 10 years old. And later, he rapes another girl around 12 years old, and then rapes another girl. I don't know what that range was, but many under the age of 16 were abused by him. That's what success did for him. You see what I'm saying? He released a hit single, and everybody knew who he was, and he just went crazy. There's nothing good about being a celebrity of any kind, which I think it's a positive thing, because Andy Warhol said that everybody's going to be famous for 15 minutes in the future when everyone's famous, no one will be. That's what Syndrome said. And that's a good thing. We don't want fame. Fame is bad. Fame kills people. Fame is not a good thing. We don't want any kind of sense of superiority between us because I do this and you do that, or I'm well known, because that destroys people. You should not have a human being thinking that he's better than the next person, right? Absolutely preposterous. That's why noise music is great, right? Like that's why I love. We all just kind of do our own thing. We're having fun. It's a hobby thing. You know what I mean? Let's move on. Let's roll the intro. Let's make it happen. Get wrapped up in success. Of course, I have been getting wrapped up in a few noise albums this week. There's a whole thing going on, and I want to urge you, first of all, go grab the Gates of Hypnos full discography is at, I believe, $11 right now, which is a steal. Okay, and the reason why you should get it is because there is no longer going to be anything added to it. You're gonna have to follow a link to get to it. And I'll add that in the description. I'm horrible about adding links, but I'll go ahead and add that link um, to where you can get to that because there will no longer the label is over, kind of. Gates of Hypnos was shadow banned, so Tremo abandoned the original Bandcamp page and has started a new Bandcamp page called GOH Recordings. Okay, capital G, lowercase o, capital H, and he's doing a compilation to get the ball rolling, and he's asking me to do a thing for it, and I'm working on a new Contrite Heart, and I'm also working on a lot of other things, and I'm also not feeling too well, okay? So I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I guess I'll get to it. But anyway, just check out the new label and go ahead and because the way I work with buying label discographies, it's worth it to buy a label discography, but you don't know what's going to come out next, and then you're going to be paying $1 for all the ones that you want prior to. So I wish sometimes you want to wait until it's time to get the full digital discography. This is a good time to do it because there's not going to be anything else. Or I mean, you can do it later, but it's $10, 10, $11, and there's not going to be anything else on it. So there's no concern for it. And but yeah, that was the reason because it got shadow banned the same way that Basement Corner Emissions did, and I'm sure every other noise label, everybody that happens. When you've got that many releases coming out, there's no way to keep it in line, and you're gonna have enemies. And I listened to Boris this week. Let me tell you something. I got some comments one time because I said I don't really like Boris. I've never liked Boris. Same thing with Sun O. I really dug myself a pretty deep grave, but I did listen to Boris this week. It was really good. It was really good. I suppose that my struggle with Boris was that it's everything. It has what Earth has. It has Drone Evil example is what uh I listened to, and it was good. But it is kind of like a super fan of Doom and sludge metal coming back. By the way, I remembered an album that I used to love. I had it on cassette, and I would just listen to the cassette over and over again. It was called Music Blues, and it was a side project from I believe his first name is Steven Tanner. Anyway, Music Blues. Things haven't gone well. He was at Creston Spire's house. He was crashing there, and then he just went ahead and recorded things. So it's a very Harvey Milk adjacent project. But I remember. I think I'm between. I have two memories of how I came across this album, and maybe both happened, but I think it was Zach from Urine Hell that recommended this album to me. I believe it's a strong possibility that is how that happened. And but also I think I was just digging through, and I thinking back and not really remembering it very much. I thought it was a Joe Preston project. You can see how I would have thought that. Because Preston was the basis for the Melvins and Tanner was the basis for Harvey Milk. So I misconstrued the two, and Preston just has a higher people know him, you know. Um, but yeah, this was a really horrid, amazing album. Kind of sludge metal where you want it to be sludge metal. Boris is a little easier to listen to. And it's fun. It really does have that tone, and it does sound like those old Melvins albums. If you can't, when you can't get enough of them, then you can go to Boris or something like that. I thought it was too good for it, I guess. Um, Another thing I think I'm too good for is cloud rap, and I don't know the difference between cloud rap and stuff, but I had gotten a Sonemic recommendation recently, a little while ago, for Mile Low and the 2022 album. I'm not a fan. It was okay. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not into it. But then I got a recommendation from DRC, and I didn't recommend anywhere near all the stuff. I didn't bring up anywhere near all the stuff that he recommended to me in the video of his recommendations. And I believe he actually recommended this to me after or while I was editing the last episode, and it was Skinwalker 14 and Organism Dies, and it was hard. Yeah, because I remember listening to it. So this is if I was gonna listen to some kind of like internet hip hop, and I'm not saying that I don't like hip hop, but I have a very, very small amount of hip hop that I like. But this is different. This is like internet hip hop. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it, but like it's not black people, and it doesn't feel like it either. So, but it was good. It was pretty harsh, and it felt like harsh noise. So And there wasn't a beat consistently, but I'm not interested in harsh noise with a beat, but I think that got hit me in a good mood. Talking about real harsh noise though, Interzona and Latest. I went through Interzona is an artist. Oh, the On Basement Corner Missions was On Basement Corner Missions a lot. And I remember when I was going through that discography that it was just Interzona, Interzona, Interzona. Latest is a Canadian noise artist, and I believe both of them at least at some point have been on Gates of Hypnos. But Latest is more along the lines of Cultist Copy. But Latest was on this. I got this from Latest's digital discography on Bandcamp. Uh, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, they're both massive beasts as far as the early 20s, late teens go in harsh noise. Surprisingly good. It was slow, very crisp. It wasn't a wall, but it was moving slowly. And it was just yeah, it was a really relaxing release full of a lot of great tone. And I would strongly recommend that. It was short though. It was very short. Um, Another one I pulled up to the band.codes because the you always want to get them from band. You want to check band.codes like every few hours because they only allow you to grab so many releases from there because at in a day and in a however many hour period it's almost like you want to check that as often as possible and grab stuff up because stuff sits around there a lot longer than it does on the other site because you can grab as much as you want on the other site, get free codes. Anyway, they're weird. But Allian is there for some reason, and it's good to see Allian there because that's when I saw it, I was like, this is the best thing. Here, I gotta get it. When then I was like, oh, I already have all of Allian's stuff, but I still got Where the Rainbow Ends because it's newer. But still, eventually I could just have listened to it on Bandcamp and then eventually I'm going to. So basically, I want to apologize for wasting one of Allian's codes. I'm sorry, Allian. You're one of my favorite noise artists, and this is a wonderful noise album. It's classic Allian, but it depends on how loud you listen to it, how consumed you are by it. There's a full, broad spectrum of sounds that you're getting here. It sounds like a thunderstorm. You get a little bit of that thunder, but it's consistent, so it's not scary thunder. Definitely an ambient noise wall. You get the rain. You hear the rain falling onto the roof, but you also hear the rain trickling down from the gutters, right? You hear it splattering on the pavement. You hear it splattering on the grass. You hear it being consumed by the dirt. You get a very complex field of sound. You hear it hitting the leaves on the trees, you know? Just so massive. And while I have been under the weather recently, it was really nice to listen to. I was relaxed, chilling. I also saw Asmodexia on there. Asmodexia was a weird, another Canadian. I think Canadian. And I consume. I think it was. I think it's a Canadian grindcore band, but they're from all over the place. They're on every label. I was within a short period of time doing physical releases for Hidden Window Recordings and Not of the Flesh. And Not of the Flesh worked in tandem with Gates of Hypnos, and every one of them got a message from Asmodexia. Asmodexia is all over the place. This release was from Al Ripper, and Al Ripper also does provide free codes on band.codes. And so, I mean, I have the full Owl Ripper discography as well, but again, this is a newer release, so I figured I would grab it for cheaper and then maybe just not go back. I'll certainly buy the Oleon thing again, but I don't know that I'm gonna get that Owl Ripper um, collection again. But yeah, they're pretty good. I like them as a grindcore band. The weird thing is that they say that they're a noise band and they work with noise artists, but it really is grindcore. It's not noise. They might have some noise stuff in there. I remember Flesh Transplant was on this label that I liked because they would send great tapes. They sent really great tapes. Whatever the label that Flesh Transplant is on, I'll maybe do the research and edit. It was a is a really great label, but yeah, they went from place to place to place with new releases, and they're a real band. They got multiple members and everything like that. And but that's what I said to Ian when we were doing Hidden Window. I said we're not ready for this. We've done one of my releases and one of your releases. I don't think we had even done one of my releases. I don't know because we did Bastard Sword on that label, but most of it was his stuff, or like the Shame collaboration. And I was telling him, I was like, we're not a real label. I didn't feel that we were a real label and could put out a real band, but for some reason they do like those low key noise labels. And they reached out to Not of the Flesh as well, and I talked about doing a 3-inch CD. I said it has to be over 10 minutes, not under 10 minutes. It has to be at least over 10 minutes, but not more than 20 minutes, I think is what I said to them. And they wanted to arrange something, but never did any one of those labels release Asmodexia. So, I like the band. I really enjoy them. I bought their CD back when, and I grabbed this for free recently. And they've done a lot of like Raw Pit. I think they have done a lot of splits with a lot of noise artists. And yeah, I like what they've done. They've really are active in the noise community, yet are a grindcore band. So that's pretty cool. I don't have a problem with that at all. I listened to one band that I was incredibly displeased with, was not happy with. I mean, and it's a successful artist, so I don't really feel too bad about digging into this a little bit. Xiphoid Dementia, Spiral Rapture Holy War. This is something I got for free, and I appreciate the free album, but it wasn't good. It was really bad. And I mean, it's popular among noise fans, and I think that there's a lot of cool noise in there, but just tried to do way too much. There was a lot of cool things going on, but they didn't mesh well. And I'm sure I've done the same thing at some point with all of my noise slash classical stuff that I've been doing in ambient. But this was overproduced, and they did not have what they needed to. They didn't have they had a There's so much going on. You needed a really good mix. You needed an audio engineer on that first track, and I listened to some of it and it got somewhat better, but I was just done with this release. It just did not make itself a place in my mind to be able to continue being something that I listened to. But you needed a much better mix than what was on that. Everything was a disaster. It was not in time. There was rhythm, and there was a lot of emphasis on rhythm, but it didn't work with everything that was going on didn't work with each other, and it was just a mess. And avant-garde music, that's good, but not when you're trying to do a Viking excitement type of thing. It was almost like a Dungeon Synth release where somebody tried to use rhythm and tried to use beats or something like that and mutilated the whole release. I would suggest that this is someone who started out with maybe a little bit more standard death industrial, and then it's probably trying to move forward, just trying to introduce more into your release. But and I do the same thing. I'm sure I'll be there again. Yeah, Job is stressing me out. I did a lot with it and tried to do too much, I'm sure, and it went crazy. But that's definitely what happened here. This artist went crazy. God bless him. See what you can do, simplify it, or get an engineer, or like work with other people, get as many people involved as you can. Don't put it out until it's much better. You got to make sure, then have other ears listen, get people that are critical, people that actually say what they think. you know it's tough. It's tough, but we have to move forward. I'm glad that people are moving forward, so Godspeed.